In a world dominated by video games that leave the market as quickly as they enter, there are some such as Half-Life 2, Halo 3, and Final Fantasy 7 that have withstood the test of time. But there is one game that stands above them all, a game that 13 years after its release still has online lobbies full of fans who continue to discover its secrets and relive the glory days of their youth, Skate 3. The game introduced a new open world for players to explore, improved graphics, and updated skating mechanics, but that doesn't explain why it continues to thrive all these years later. So what does? Well, contrary to what you might think, Skate 3's long-term success can be attributed to its well-renowned imperfections. Let me explain. Something that stood out with Skate 3 from the beginning is that the developers didn't take themselves too seriously. They weren't focused on trying to recreate the common themes of popular skating games like Tony Hawk Underground. Instead, they were focused on creating a fun experience for both skaters and non-skaters alike. For non-skaters, there were plenty of fun things to do, such as ragdolling yourself off the tallest building to achieve the highest score in the Hollow Meat mode, or dropping into the dam to break the sound barrier. And don't get me started on the soundtrack. I can't tell you how many hours I lost tricklining around listening to Going Up to the Country by Cannon Heat. But I digress, because for those interested in skating, there was also a bunch of rewarding gameplay mechanics that would keep them busy late into the night. In fact, many thought Skate 3's physics-based controls as the most hyper-realistic experience on the market, leading to a cult following of would-be enthusiasts, a following that was only bolstered by the fact that you could also create your own maps to challenge each other. What's interesting, however, is that although the game provided a well-rounded experience from the onset, it didn't actually pick up steam until much later when players and large YouTubers such as PewDiePie revisited the game. It was here that many began to realize just how much content was packed beneath the surface. But it was also here that many began to uncover one of the most iconic elements of Skate 3, its glitches. Skate 3 wasn't a broken game by any means, but it certainly wasn't perfect. One doesn't have to go further than the abundance of funny moment compilations that can be found online to see what I mean. From disappearing into the ground and then being flung into the sky to weird physics mechanics that will leave you scratching your head, everyone and their dog has a story about a weird moment that happened during their time playing Skate 3. But what's interesting is that in the same way imperfections make a husband love his wife even more, the glitches and weird shenanigans help Skate 3 transcend from something generic into something special. It wasn't just a skating game, it was an experience to kick back, relax, and not take oneself too seriously. And so for many, Skate 3 is a way to re-experience the days of one's youth, imperfections and all, which is why it would never die. But Albert, I hear you say, what about Skate 4? Won't that replace Skate 3? Well, that's a really good question, but it's one that we won't know the answer to until it's rumored to release later this year. Wink, wink. However, what I can say for sure is that the industry desperately needs a shakeup, because while the remastered versions of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 are decent, nothing has matched the quality and quirkiness of Skate 3. And that is why people continue to play it all these years later. I'll see you guys on Skate 4.